Okay, let's dive right into this. When we think of the FIFA World Cup, our minds instantly jump to that iconic glowing golden trophy. We picture the confetti falling, national heroes being crowned, and just this massive, joyful, global celebration of the beautiful game. But what we're looking at in this explainer is the stark, jarring contrast between that golden glow and the really heavy storm clouds of systemic corruption that have been gathering over the pitch for a long time. We're putting on our investigator hats today. We're peeling back the layers of pristine, big budget marketing to look at the raw reality beneath it all. We're going to examine the historical records, the controversies, and the totally hidden mechanics of global football's governing body. Because honestly, this isn't just about what happens during 90 minutes on the grass. It's about the decades of shadowed maneuverings that make those 90 minutes possible in the first place. It's kind of the ultimate cold open question, isn't it? What actually happens when those stadium lights finally go out? When the TV cameras are packed away and the roar of the crowd just fades into the night? A completely different game begins. As we dig into the historical records, we really have to look past the carefully curated broadcasts. The story we're tracking today takes us far away from the manicured green pitches and pulls us directly into the shadows. And it's in those shadows that decisions altering the fate of nations, the flow of literally billions of dollars, and even human lives are actually made. To truly understand the World Cup, we can't just watch the ball. We have to follow the money, the power, and the politics. If we lay these historical events out on a timeline, a pretty undeniable pattern starts to emerge. We aren't just looking at a few isolated bad calls here. We're looking at a documented descent. We start back in 1978 with an impossibly convenient 6-0 victory for Argentina against Peru. Then we move to the blatant 1986 Hand of God goal, fast forward to the absolute referee chaos involving South Korea in 2002, all the way up to the massive, highly publicized controversies surrounding Qatar in 2022. The logic to follow here is vital. The visible, on-pitch chaos we all witness on our screens, it actually serves as the first glaring symptom of much deeper, hidden truths. Every missed call, every inexplicable collapse, every single controversial whistle acts like a breadcrumb, leading us right back to a boardroom.
Now, what's really interesting here is how those administrative shadows translate into physical, on-field devastation. Think of these as our on-pitch red flags. Take the 1986 Hand of God incident, for example. It was a literal physical violation of the rules that somehow stood on the world's biggest stage. Or look at 2002, where highly suspicious referee decisions dramatically altered the tournament's landscape for South Korea. And at the exact same time, we watched legendary French players utterly devastated by a shocking, inexplicable exit. And beneath all of this, it's the fans. The angry, visceral reactions of passionate everyday people who save up for years, literally years, to travel and support their teams only to watch controversial, potentially fixed matches dictate their fate. This emotional devastation isn't just a byproduct of the sport. It's the visible collateral damage of a rigged system. To really grasp how this machine operates, we have to objectively compare the eras. We need to impartially contrast the political maneuvers of the past with the ones we see today. Back in 1978, under a military junta in Argentina, football stadiums were quite literally used to mask severe domestic political tension. The cheers of the crowds were utilized to basically drown out the reality of a very strict military presence. Now compare that to modern tournaments. Today, the mechanics have definitely evolved. It's no longer just about masking domestic tension, it's about using luxurious, multi-billion-dollar stadium construction to project global power, secure international alliances, and, well, mask a completely different kind of hidden darkness. The tools have changed from military uniforms to luxury architecture, but the exploitation of the sport for national image building, that remains exactly the same. Let's zoom in on a specific case study that perfectly hits the nail on the head regarding this blend of sport and state. The 1986 match between Argentina and England. This was not just your standard quarterfinal. This match was played under the heavy, inescapable shadow of the Falklands War. Pure football was just completely intertwined with heavy political symbolism. Every tackle, every pass, and certainly Diego Maradona's infamous goal carried the immense weight of international conflict. The stadium basically became a proxy battlefield. It's a fascinating, if sobering, reminder that the World Cup never just exists in a vacuum. It is constantly absorbing and reflecting the geopolitical tensions of its time. And actually, if we step back just one tournament prior to 1978, the atmosphere was even more direct. The match between Argentina and Peru remains one of the most scrutinized in all of football history. To put this into perspective, Argentina needed a massive 4-goal victory just to advance to the final. Well, they won 6-0,
while grain shipments and political favors allegedly traded hands in the background. Just imagine the scene for a second. Dramatic, stark stadium lights cutting through the night, a tense, deeply suspicious atmosphere down on the pitch. And up in the luxury boxes, the watchful, unblinking eyes of high-ranking military officers. The pressure on the players in that environment is absolutely unimaginable. It stands as a chilling historical data point of exactly what happens when authoritarian political forces directly intersect with the operation of a sporting event. Which naturally leads us deeper into this investigative descent. We've seen the impact on the pitch, right? And we've seen the political exploitation in the stands. But we have to ask the ultimate question here. Who is really shaking hands in the shadows? To find out, we've got to pull the curtain all the way back. We have to leave the stadium entirely and walk right into the corridors of power, where the real game is played, where the real victories are decided long, long before a ball is ever kicked. This is where the real cinematic tension of our investigation peaks. Welcome to the institutional decay of the boardroom, because this isn't about athletic prowess anymore. This is about secret luxury meeting rooms completely shielded from public audit. It's about hidden, confidential documents detailing massive broadcasting rights and host city bids. We aren't just talking about vague tinfoil hat suspensions here. We are talking about the more than $150 million in bribes uncovered during the 2015 Department of Justice indictments. In these rooms, shadowy sports executives and powerful political leaders operate in tandem. Expensive, perfectly tailored suits mask a dark, suspenseful reality of corruption, offshore wire transfers, and global power brokering. As leading sports ethics experts have bluntly stated, regulatory failure at FIFA wasn't an accident. The system was fundamentally designed to evade oversight. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate consequence of all that institutional decay. A cracked football resting under the heavy shadow of storm clouds is just profoundly symbolic. It represents shattered trust. When the governing bodies operate in total secrecy, when referees are manipulated, and when host nations are chosen through shady backroom deals, the fundamental integrity of the sport just breaks apart. The ball itself, the very core of the game, becomes fractured. It's a really powerful visual reminder that you cannot corrupt the foundation without eventually destroying the entire structure it supports. Which brings us to the modern era, specifically Qatar 2022. Let's slow down for a second here because the contrast is literally jarring. On the surface, you have unimaginable beauty, a glowing, luxurious, hypermodern skyline rising straight out of the desert, boasting some of the most technologically advanced stadiums humanity has ever conceived. But hovering directly over that architectural marvel are the dark, mysterious storm clouds of hidden controversy. It is the ultimate modern paradox of the World Cup, breathtaking global spectacle resting directly on top of systemic, completely obscured darkness. So, the absolutely crucial point here is this. Who actually pays the price for that breathtaking spectacle? The answer always lies in the human stories, a powerful emotional sacrifice. To truly understand that quote, we have to confront the physical reality behind it. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of migrant workers who traveled thousands of miles, very often facing confiscated passports and working in extreme, blistering heat. They were building massive, record-breaking structures under incredibly harsh, unforgiving conditions. These are the invisible hands that poured the concrete and welded the steel for the world's biggest party, enduring an unspeakable personal and physical cost just to survive. Just picture the scene. Massive silhouettes of construction cranes set against a dark, somber sunset. We really need to let the gravity of this sink in for a moment. If you strip away the noise of the cheering crowds and the flash of the cameras, we are left with the ultimate human cost. It forces us to ask some deeply uncomfortable questions about the true price of our entertainment. Because when the foundational blocks of our stadiums are laid in exploitation, the entire tournament carries that heavy weight. The darkness isn't just hiding in the boardrooms anymore, it is baked right into the very soil of the pitches. We arrive at the end of this explainer with a thought that's honestly as haunting as it is revealing. Picture the FIFA World Cup trophy, standing completely alone in a dark, empty stadium. No cheering fans, no victorious athletes, just cold, isolated gold. It forces us to confront our final provocative question. If the beautiful game, a sport that unites billions of people, inspires children everywhere, and creates pure magic on the pitch, if that is fundamentally built on a foundation of hidden secrets, exploited labor, and boardroom corruption, who is really winning? It's a question that lingers long after the final whistle blows. Thank you so much for joining me for this analysis. Keep questioning